Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 326 of Legally Clueless. This is what's coming up.
Admission, at the time when I was being admitted, we are looking at 12,000 per night. The cheapest place I ever was admitted at for my mental health, it was 7,500 per night. You see the psychiatrist every day, that's 5K. You see the therapist every day, that's 4K. So we're looking at 12 plus 9 is 21,000. 21,000, and then you've not put your medication and you've not put nursing fee. So imagine per day, you're spending about 23,000. Like right now, my dad is the one who's paying my rent and any other utilities. I'm actually getting emotional. Yeah, I'm actually getting emotional to think that for 7 years, because from 2019, I can say that's when now all my savings run out. So you can imagine from 2019 to today, there are still people who support me unconditionally.
That's part 2 of Wa's very insightful, inspiring story. But before we get to that, I really do hope you're having a good start to your week if you're listening to this on Monday. If you're new to this podcast, episodes like this go out every single Monday. On Wednesdays, we have the Midweek Teas, and then on Fridays, we have Ask a Therapist. We also have a brand new show called For Mannerless Women that is on the last couple of episodes of this season, actually. It's on our YouTube channel, and it's where you can get all the inspiration and knowledge you need to meet your best self as a woman. In fact, the most recent episode is everything you need if you're on a fat loss or fat gain journey. It will teach you everything you need to be doing as a woman as you get older in terms of fitness and nutrition. Trust me, it's a must watch, and there's a link to it in the show notes. Lastly, don't forget to sign up to officially join our family and receive our weekly newsletters. Do that on our website, which is legallycluelessafrica.com. All right, I am suffering from the worst migraine, so I'm not going to talk too much. It feels like is this the right or the left? Right. The right side of my head is just like, I don't know what's happening. Guys. Send some good energy my way. So I'm not going to talk for too long. I want us to jump into part 2 of Wa's story. If you haven't listened to part 1, part 2 is not going to make sense. So you should go to episode 325 and listen to the beginning of her story on how she got diagnosed with depression, actually severe depression and anxiety. What she does incredibly is talk about the physical symptoms that come with these mental illnesses. A lot of people don't realize that quite a few of your physical symptoms could be coming from not a physical ailment, but something going on mentally. Anyway, where we left off was with her ending up in hospital. And I guess everyone wants to know, as we were listening, what happened to her job during that period. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
Okay, so the transition back to the office, I actually was away from work for 8 months, and my employers kept my job. And that is one of the things that I am always so grateful for my managers, the managers who were there at that time. They kept my job for 8 months. So they paid me for the first 3 months. And then after that, because we had a very good insurance cover, I think it was called the disability cover or something. Now the insurance now started paying me. So they pay you half salary of what your salary is. So you receive half of your salary. So they'll still pay you. They paid me. So they paid me for those 8 months. even if it was half salary. So first 3 months I was paid full. Still I was getting commissions and all those things. But then now, when the insurance now kicked in, I was now only getting half of my basic salary. But still, how many employers can do that for you? Very few. Very, very few. So they kept my job for 8 months. I went back. I tried working for 6 months, but it just wasn't working. Remember, I was in sales. Our targets were very high, though USD in millions, So at the end of the day, I'm a number. I've been hired as a number. You understand? So if, say, my targets were 500,000 US dollars, the company wants you to bring in that 500,000 US dollars, So we just actually, on month 6, and I knew it was coming because I still wasn't being able to go to work every day. Like there are some days I would go to work, some days I wouldn't go to work. Remember, this was 2015. So working from home was not really a thing at that time. For our organization, for people in other countries, it used to be allowed. But I guess for us Kenyans, unajua bado, I think we were still stuck on you perform when you're seen in the office. So after the 6th month, now we sat down with my manager and I just knew. I was just waiting. The way you just wait. Like I didn't want to be the first one to say it. But when she sat down and she told me, you know what, I think it's better we part ways. I remember I cried that day. I cried so much. And I wear specs, so I even broke my specs because of how much I cried, because I couldn't believe I was losing that job. But they gave me a very good take-home package. Something else I should also add, though God rest her soul in peace, my manager at that time, my direct manager, even used to come home to visit me, to check up on me, find out how I'm doing. So I really do appreciate that employer till today. I always shout them out. There is David Bonet. Right now he's I don't know whether it's GM or CEO at Oracle, but he was our GM at that time. And also my direct manager, but unfortunately she passed on in 2021. So I always really just look back and really, really appreciate them. And also that is why I like doing, offering corporate talks, so that corporates can get to understand there's nothing as important as taking care of your staff. There are some employers who you're away on sick leave for a week, 2 weeks, and you're let go. This was 8 months, and I was still given a good take-home package. So I always appreciate them, and I always like telling employers to extend empathy to their employees. You never know what someone is going through. You never know the full picture of what someone is going through, It's very, very, very important to extend a lot of empathy. I know, yes, people, the way they say we are running a business here, we are doing this. But even if you're running a business, you're still, the people who are helping you keep that business afloat are human. They have things that they are going through. They have things that they are struggling through. Maybe sick parents, maybe an illness themselves, maybe a sick child, maybe whatever it is that's happening in the family. So it's very important to extend empathy to your employees. The reason I can't go back to a 9 to 5 is because my mental health is still not steady. I will have 3 good days and 2 bad days, or 2 good weeks and 5 bad weeks. So my mental health has never really stabilized. Remember I mentioned I was severely depressed. So when you get to that stage, completely healing from this condition becomes tricky. And I'm a believer. I'm a very spiritual person. I know God is capable of healing anything. But if we look at it scientifically, and from what I've seen being in the mental health space, healing from depression when you're found to be severely depressed is very difficult. If you're found, and that's why also I do mental health advocacy, because the earlier you're treated, the earlier you're diagnosed, the better for you. I know people who have been diagnosed early. Some maybe have had to be on medication. Like if you're mildly depressed, for example, you can just be put on medication. You'll find someone is on medication for a year. After that, they get off the meds and they're good to go. Or they're told you just need therapy, or you just need self-care. But when the condition advances, it becomes very difficult to recover from it. And it also becomes very difficult for you to be completely stable. Just think of someone with diabetes or hypertension. Even if someone is taking this medication, there's still a fluctuation in their sugar levels, right? Or there's still a fluctuation in your BP, your blood pressure, right? So that is how I try to get people to understand. These are conditions that are lifelong, and the best way to look at it so that you don't get frustrated is that this is just something I have to live with, and it has to be managed, just like diabetes, hypertension, and whatever other illness that there is. My last 9 to 5 was in 2016. So after now I left employment, I stayed home for a couple of months, I think another 7 to 8 months thereabout, trying to figure out what else I can do. And I decided to open a lingerie shop. I used to sell bras and undies and nightwear and stuff like that from the boot of my car. And I'd always wanted to set up a shop. So I opened up a shop at Lavington Mall. And initially it was doing well, but then now it slowed down. That is because of my mental health. Remember, I said it fluctuates. So there are days I could open the shop, there are days I could not open the shop. I tried hiring people, but then they would come, open the shop, go roaming around, go talking to other people. And especially when a business is in its infancy stage, it's very important for you to be there. So the business was run for 1.5 years, and unfortunately it shut down. And it also shut down because I mentioned some symptoms: memory loss, lack of concentration. So you can imagine trying to run a business when you're not in the right state of mind. It becomes in the right frame of mind. It becomes very difficult. So I ended up kind of trusting someone to help me with the running of the business, but he took advantage of it and the business closed down. So I sat home again, and between that, actually, I did Airbnb business. I had 2 Airbnbs. Somehow they just stalled as well. It just reached a point they just stalled. I stopped getting people. And I've tried so many businesses after that. But what happens is I start a business, it's doing well, 3-4 months. Month 5, I fall sick, I'm admitted, and the business now, by the time now it's picking up again, a couple of months have passed. I no longer have the drive to run with this thing. I no longer have the commitment, because I'm here recovering. Because remember also, even after I come out from the relapse, it takes a couple of months to fully recover to what I can say going back to functioning. So I've really tried quite a number of businesses, but they have failed, unfortunately, because of my mental health. But one thing I must say that I'm really blessed to have amazing people in my life. Amazing people in my life, because there are different people there are different friends and even family members who, like there's a friend who bought my medicines for 5 straight years, every single month. There is another friend who pays for my insurance every year, because she says, I'd rather pay this amount of money now than have you in hospital, and now we have to start contributing to try and get you out of that hospital, or even having now to stress my parents, every time. And that admission is not cheap. It's not cheap, because like at Chiromolin, admission at the time when I was being admitted, we are looking at 12,000 per night, right? The cheapest place I ever was admitted at for my mental health, it was 7,500 per night. And then there are the other fees. There's you see the doctor, you see the psychiatrist every day, that's 5K. You see the therapist every day, that's 4K. So we're looking at 12 plus 9 is 21,000. So 21,000, and then you've not put your medication, and you've not put nursing fee. So imagine per day, you're spending about 23,000 on admission. And when it comes to mental health treatment, people are admitted for long periods of time. So thank God to that friend. I've had friends who have paid my rent for months on end. I've had friends who shop for me, for my house, you know. My family also have really stepped in. Like right now, my dad is the one who's paying my rent and any other utilities. I'm actually getting emotional. Yeah, I'm actually getting emotional to think that for 7 years, because from 2019, I can say that's when now all my savings ran out. Remember, I told you I had started other businesses. There was the lingerie shop, there was the Airbnb. I'd put money there. I was hoping these things would work out, but they didn't work out. So you can imagine from 2019 to today, there are still people who support me unconditionally. There are those ones who support conditionally, but they're fallen along the wayside. But there are those ones who support unconditionally. And one of the things I must say is I've seen God's hand in my life. I've seen God's hand in my life because I never ask, I never borrow. Fine, of course, there are times maybe I'll need to pay for something and I will maybe need like a 1,500 or whatever. But I also keep telling people when I look for the money, I never find it. Even 500 bob.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void were prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
I will call 2-3 people. I won't get the money. I sit and wait. The money will come. And I keep saying, those are just God's miracles, God's provision. I tell people I live an extraordinary life. I have never sat in my house and my electricity has been disconnected. I know my power is running out tomorrow. I have 130 shillings on my Fuliza. But when I wake up that morning, someone will have sent me the exact amount of money that I need. You can imagine all these years, not even 1 month have I ever lacked medication. I've never lacked. The clothes I'm wearing right now, I keep telling people, this is all because of people blessing me, my family, my friends. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. You can hear where I started from. I was doing so well. I was traveling. I was driving big cars. I was making good money, very good money. So I've always been an independent person. I'm a firstborn. So of course I'm a go-getter. I have that firstborn energy, I don't like depending on people. I'm more of a giver. And, people who are givers, it's very hard for them to receive. So I don't like it. But then at the end of the day, I'm just like, okay, if this is where God wants me right now, what choice do I have? So it doesn't mean that I'm just sitting. Now, let me just mention this. In 2018, I started an organization called Let's Go Mental Kenya. When I started learning about mental health, through my own experience, I realized there isn't information out there about mental health. Remember like what I told you about the treatment of how the medication is done. It has to be a trial and error, because you'll find some people will go to hospital, they are given the medications. If they don't work after 3 weeks, they give up on the doctor. But no one is there to tell them, you have to stick it through. It has to get to a point where you get the medications right with the doctor for you to be able to stabilize. People don't really fully understand about these mental illnesses. So that's when I decided, okay, let me not say I. That is when God instructed me to set up an organization called Let's Go Mental Kenya. And he's actually the one who gave me the name. So the first 2 years, I was really in the back scenes. So just take like content from the internet, like quotes about mental health, and just put them on my Instagram, like I never showed my face. I never did anything. Though I started a YouTube channel, but I never used to talk about my own experience. Like it was more of educational. because I was still a bit afraid of what people are going to say. But in 2020 now, when COVID hit, you remember that's the time now people started doing webinars, people started doing lives, people started doing what. So that's the time now I decided now to fully come out. And that's when I was able to start talking about the mental health. I then registered the organization. So I've registered it as a community-based organization. I have board members, very supportive board members. And I've done a lot of work in schools. I do corporate talks as well, going to speak in corporates. I have partnered with a couple of organizations just to do, work in the community around mental health. And our focus right now is on teen mental health, especially for girls. And we are hoping to be able to get some funding so that we can be able to roll out some programs in the community for the teen girls. So this is basically to create the awareness, to speak to them about early intervention, to speak to them about self-care, speak to them about these resources or where they can go and get help, because that is not available to many people. But especially for me, I feel that we need to get them when they are young, at that teenage age, that delicate age, and start helping them grow up into what you can say pretty much stable adults, for them to be able to understand these things. Like, I'd like to share some statistics on mental health, on adolescent mental health. In 2022, they did a survey and they found that 44.3% of adolescents aged between the 10 and 17 reported experiencing mental health problems within a period of 12 months. 44.3%. That is really, really high, And then they also found that their anxiety disorders are the most prevalent mental health issues, affecting 26.7% of adolescents, then followed by ADHD, which is 18.2%. So I just wanted to give those statistics just to show that it is a real issue in our society. But it's just unfortunate that most of the time, mental issues in teenagers people dismiss them as teenagehood. That one is just going through adolescence. It's just teenage rebellion. It is just this. But if people were to get to understand deeper, you'll find that this child of yours probably is struggling with a mental issue. And if it is addressed early, the earlier it is addressed, remember what I mentioned about it being on a continuum, the higher chances it is for them not to experience these conditions in adulthood. They will know how to manage them. They will know where to seek the help, how to do self-care, and etc. So that's why we've decided to go the teen mental health way. And that's where I am today. We are still seeking funding. One of the hardest things, I think, to do as a human being is to look for funding. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that eventually we'll be able to get some form of funding that will enable us to roll out this program in the low resource areas. I am mainly actually focused on the low resource areas. It doesn't mean that people in the middle and upper class do not have these issues, but I just feel that for them, it's better if we start at that level and we come up, So that's why. So actually, me and some of my board members, we're always arguing about that thing, because they're like, no, we should also go to high schools in, the high class high schools. For me, I'm like, no, I want us to start from the grassroots level. However, we've not completely closed them off, because yes, there's the programs that will be rolling out in the low resource areas. And then for people who now middle class, upper class, we want to start hosting. We've already hosted them before, but now the art therapy events now have a focus on teens. So it will be art therapy events for teens and their parents, so that now the teens get to understand about mental health and the parents are able to understand how to support their teens to ensure that they don't develop some of these conditions that can be mitigated. And then also, according to WHO, 50% of all mental health cases actually begin in teenagehood. So if it can be found early, the better. So that's where we are at today. That is my story. And to be honest, like even today, I'm struggling. I'm not too sure if you can tell, but I'm struggling. But also another thing you get to learn about mental health is there are those days you just struggle through it. You just go through life feeling off. I usually carry hibiscus tea. Today I haven't carried any. I don't know why I forgot. But I usually carry hibiscus tea. It helps me calm down. So it calms down the anxiety. It helps me feel a bit more stable. So I keep telling people, if you suffer from anxiety, take hibiscus tea during the day. However, hibiscus tea, if someone has low blood pressure, they're not supposed to take hibiscus tea. And then you can also take chamomile tea, which I take at night because chamomile sometimes causes drowsiness. So now, if you're at work, you don't want to be drowsy. First, you're feeling sick and then you're feeling drowsy. So you take that at night. So there are a couple of things I do. I make sure I walk. There was a time I was going to the gym, but I stopped. There's walking, there's journaling. I'm so big on journaling. Just putting down all my thoughts on paper is very, very therapeutic. And I have to make sure that I write 5 things I'm grateful for every day. Every single day, I have to give God thanks for at least 5 things. And I feel that if I never used to do that activity, I don't think I would be where I am today. Because you can imagine coming from high flying to having to be supported by people. It's not easy. It's not easy, Another way I also manage my mental health is through therapy. Therapy is extremely, extremely important. I've really had very many comments like, oh, therapy doesn't work. Oh, I don't feel like going for therapy. I am fine. Let me tell you, we all need therapy. We all need therapy. As long as you walk in this face of the planet, you need therapy. That is because at any point in your life, be it at home, be it in school, be it at your work, you'll always experience some form of stress, some form of trauma, some form of, some things that can affect you psychologically. And maybe some of them, when you bury them deep down inside you, and they come out as a personality trait. So maybe like now, you'll find like some people who maybe are always so angry and they're easily angered and things like that. If you were to investigate that person, you'll probably find that they went through some trauma in their life. And the way now they are coping with it is by lashing out at the world. So you're thinking this person has a bad personality, but this has been formed due to probably an experience that they experienced either when they were young or, things like that. And something else also I've realized with the therapy, I have been through very many therapists.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
And I just want people to know that if you feel that you're not comfortable with a therapist, if you don't like their approaches, how they approach you in therapy, if you feel like they're not helping you, change them. It's very important to have chemistry with your therapist. You need someone who understands you. You need someone who's empathetic. And we are all at different stages in life. So let me give an example. I briefly mentioned that I lost my sister last year. And towards the end of last year, I got a therapist who was using tough love. But I didn't need tough love at that time. I needed someone who will empathize with the pain that I'm going through. Right? So I had to look for a different therapist. Actually, from the time my sister passed on, I've been through 3 therapists. Now I'm on the 4th one. But he is amazing. This time I decided, let me try a man because I was doing 3 therapists. And all of them, there was this something. And eventually I found a good therapist. So when people say, therapy doesn't work, it's not that it doesn't work. It is probably the person that you're with was not using the therapeutic approach that you need to help you recover. So, and I was able to give also that therapist feedback. I just told her that, you know what, you're a good therapist, but your tough love approach is not what I need right now. So when it comes to therapy, you also have to look, because therapy, it's like, a therapist is like a relationship. Yes, it's a professional relationship, but I can imagine you're opening your world to someone. So you needs to be someone that you're comfortable with and you can freely share. And when you walk out of that office, or even if it's online, you feel that, wow, that session was good today. So if you don't like your therapist, just change. You can change as many times until you find the one who works for you. Yeah. So right now I'm actively in therapy. It's really, really helping me. And yeah, I'm grateful for that. Let me also share something else. I also can't drive anymore because of anxiety. So I had to sell my car. And I moved to Nanyuki because one day I just woke up and said, I'm moving. And the move has been so good for my mental health. It has been so good. I moved in May of last year. I wasn't admitted last year. And we are now in April and I've not been admitted. You remember before that I was telling you I would be admitted at least 3 times in a year. No admission. Last year was my hardest year ever because I lost my sister. But I lost my sister. I was in Nanyuki all alone, but my mental health was stable. So that move to Nanyuki, I think the quieter life, it's not so fast-paced. There isn't much pressure, just taking my time, being in my space, focusing on my healing. That has really, 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 really helped me. And then, of course, sticking to my medication. There are so many times I would stop. And some of those hospitalizations, by the way, were because of stopping medication, because I'm tired. I'm just like, I am tired of taking these things. So I stop, I get into a relapse. But I said, after my last relapse, I had to be put on 10 medications for me to stabilize. So from that time, that was in 2023, I said, never again will I ever miss a dosage. So once in a while I'll miss, and that's because maybe I've forgotten to send for them. But purposefully, no. So that is where I am today. Nanyuki has been very good to me. The quieter life, slow-paced, everything. As I mentioned, there's the walking, there's the journaling, there's trying to do, the hibiscus teas and all that. So, yeah, so that's where I am at.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. Listen, I am in awe about how vulnerable and open Wa was with us over these last 2 weeks. It's such a gift. It's such a gift. And so, number one is I'm just so thankful for her just being so open with us. And it really helps us understand a lot of issues around depression and anxiety and why they're actually very serious illnesses, right? And it helps us get rid of the stigma, the misunderstanding around them, where people treat those who are navigating depression, well, very many people treat those who are navigating depression as though they are choosing this, as though they should just snap out of it. No, guys. Same way you don't snap out of a broken leg. Same with mental illnesses, right? And last week, I did say I wanted to check in with you. And so before we get to what you connected with on this episode or in part 2 of Wa's story, I want to take a pause and just shout out a few people who've been leaving comments. And the first is Maggie K, who says she's very, very grateful for the podcast. She listened to episode 325, which was part 1. And she said, so many stories make my experiences feel validated. Like it's not only me who goes through certain things. Oh, so much love for you, Maggie. And that's the power of stories, right? Nemo, you said, thanks to Wariimi for sharing her story. As someone who is diagnosed with conversion disorder, I fully relate. The reality of unchecked stress, where that part is that your brain will shut your body down until you take the time to heal. Woo! Nemo, I feel like that comment needs to be on a billboard somewhere. And then there's people like Connie, who actually was commenting on episode 324, when Nyambura had been sharing her story around mother wounds. And Connie says, not me realizing why I might have a lot of male friends. I lost my mom. I have 3 brothers. Then there's the depression. I think I need therapy. Connie, All of us need therapy. So don't ever, I don't know if you meant it like this, but don't ever feel like something's wrong with only you, or that there's shame in recognizing that you may need help from a therapist. All of us. I never stopped saying there was a point in my life I had 2 therapists because things were thick, you know? A big shout out to everybody who left a comment. There's so many comments, but I'll try to read them in every episode. I truly appreciate you. Now, please just let me go and figure out this migraine situation. I hope it's not stress related. But I do want to say thank you for being part of this family. Ooh, and before I go, we really want to appreciate the awareness that WA brings to matters mental health and mental illness online. So in the show notes, you'll find a link to her pages so that you can go and connect with her more there. That's such an important part. Nearly forgot it, but thank God I did it. I really appreciate you, and I believe you have everything it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.